Kay Slater, and I live in 504 in Michigan. I lived in Spring Lake for 25 years. I lived on the bike trail that goes around Spring Lake, and it's 11 miles long, so it's a good trip. Quite often we would stop in Spring Lake just to get a little snack, a donut or something. I was married to my husband for almost 56 years, my husband Don. He passed away in April, 4 years ago, April 13th. I have 3 children. My daughter lives in Onekamat, the little town above Manistee on Portage Lake. She and her husband run a Christian camp, and she has 2 children, my grandchildren Joel and Rachel, and they also live up there. I have a son David who works at Gentex here in town, and his wife is over at Hope College, Cara. I have a son Steve who lives out in Utah, which is a long trip. He lives 7,500 feet up from Salt Lake City and still has snow. He has 3 boys. I have to tell you their names. Skylar Hawk, River Wolf, and Forest Bear. And Forest Bear was Little Bear until about a year ago, and he said, "I'm not little. Call me Forest." So he's growing up. My husband was an electrical engineer, and I was the secretary at Muskegon Christian grade school. And in '93, I moved up to the high school, and I was secretary there for 15 years. And in '08, I said, I think it's time for me to graduate. So I retired early and really enjoyed it. It wasn't a career, but we also built houses. We built 3 of them in Fruitport Township, and then we built one in Spring Lake. Well, I brought one of them with me. I like to make baskets. Sometimes they're small. Sometimes we spray them with a dye. This is one of my favorites because it's got all these loops and colors. And sometimes you do a great big one. This is when I take my laundry in. So my husband used to say, "If I sit still, you'll probably build a basket around me." But with arthritis, I've really slowed down. Just do it maybe a couple times. One of my passions is doing prison ministry. I've done that probably 20-some years, and I receive studies that students do from prisons, various prisons around the country, and I go through them, and then I write them a letter. They never know who I am other than my first name, because it goes through a clearinghouse in Grand Rapids. But it's just, it's good to, be able to encourage them. Hundreds, probably 1,000. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's been 20 years, and I did one a week. So whatever you want to multiply that out to, it's been good. For a while, I was doing 3 a week because they were short on teachers, but now we have plenty. So. And another thing that I did for probably 30 years was work with students who have physical challenges or mental, and it was called Friendship Ministries through the Christian Reformed Church, and you just work with your student one-on-one, 1 day a week. So that was something I had to quit once I couldn't drive at night, but maybe I can do that here in town. I'm just loving living this close to downtown, and I've been walking around here. I love meeting new people. Everybody's been very kind as far as inviting me to, play games, sit with them. I appreciate that. I just started a new Bible study, which one of the residents invited me to, and so I'm kind of open.
My legal name is Beverly Joyce Hatton, and I live in a beautiful apartment number 171 on the first floor. So I have 6 different bird feeders out, and I'm absolutely enjoying my time here. Thank you. I moved from Spring Lake, Michigan, and I noticed one of your questions was, where is my family from? My great-grandfather, Jus Verplank, landed in 1848 at 4 years old on the beach in Grand Haven. And he went on from there the next year with his father and his three other siblings to Holland. And his father was a successful shoemaker. And he also wrote a memoir, which I've used very much in my books, at the beginning to sort of, start out. The book that I have here, I have a hard and a soft copy of the book, and I have enough books for everyone in this building if they would like it, and they are welcome to them free. So our family, both my mother and my father, were both raised in Ottawa County. Ottawa County is very much the home base of my family. I emphasize two things in the books. One is I emphasize early education and early schooling of children, and I'm talking about ages 0 when they're born to 4 or 5 when they prepare for school. And I had a motto when I ran for the State Board of Education back in 1964 that if you wanted to worry about what to do with the dropouts in 7th and 8th grade, it was about time they started with the preschoolers. And consequently, I started the first preschool in Western Michigan in 1957, and took the preschool companies that I was working with public in 1970, and then in 1976 founded the statewide computerized child care food program, which is still going today, and I think about 50,000 preschoolers in Michigan alone. And I also founded it in Illinois and Colorado. I got out of the education field when a group of us got interested in FM radio and UHF television and cable. And I was a small group of us got together and filed for the first FM station in Aspen, Colorado, because we all like to ski. And then we went on to new types of broadcasting. First FM radio, which was in its infancy, and back in 1970, and UHF television. Then I was a lifelong sailor, but also the last 5 years, I had always tried in the winter as much as possible to go on an ocean cruise. So I was able to go on expedition ships where you get off in zodiacs and explore the shore and, the city, the whatever, depending on what part of the world you're in. I returned this winter from the Far East. I have 5 brilliant children who decided last year, when I was 91, that it was time for Mom to think about spending her time in a place where she would have lots of people to to talk with, meet with, do things with. The choice was mine to make, but they agreed with it, and I wanted to wait one more year because I was going to be 92 in last October. And they got a hold of Don Lovers and said, will you talk, we'll have a little Zoom call with all 5 kids. And Don and his wife Nancy was on the line also. And he said one thing that made the decision. He said, you know, Joyce, you're 92, and waiting one more year may not seem like much to you, but 1 year is a long time for your children, and they all have jobs that are important to them, they have to do, and it would be very nice if they didn't have to worry about you anymore. I said, hey, you know, like a typical mother, anything for the children. So I'm here, and I'm determined to make it a great success for my children, so that they feel that the choice was right, because it will be, and it is. I'm a graduate of Hope College too. How they support Freedom Village and the things that they make possible are really amazing.
I am Char.Laman. My apartment is 417. Not very far. I lived on 12th Street next to the library, so I made a move. I was born in Muskegon, raised in Muskegon, and then actually did move to Holland when I got married. My husband was in seminary. And then full going around the country, came back here to Holland. Well, my husband died very unexpectedly shortly before Christmas. And we were living, our home was a 2-story home, which is, I thought, too big to rattle around in, but I still loved my house, and so I was going back and forth. Do I just hire more help and stay here? And my kids wanted me to find a place here in Holland where I'd be happy. So we made appointments with 3 different places here in Holland. It just happened that Freedom Village had the first opening, so we came here. And after Shanna showed us all around, I didn't want to see any others. So that's why I chose Freedom Village. My husband was a minister. He went through the seminary here in Holland. And when he finished, the first place we went was out west to Nooksack Valley, Washington, which is a very small town, and a lot of dairy farmers around. And that was our first church. Not very different from the churches here in Holland, so it didn't seem like a big change, but the scenery was terrific there, and hiking, and so we loved it in Washington. I had 4 small children, each 2 years apart, and so I did play the organ there because their organist left soon after we came. Went to a lot of ladies' aids meetings. I think we were there maybe short of 5 years. Then we moved to Great Falls, Montana, where my husband started the new church. And that was an adventure. First of all, there were very few Dutch people around, and our church was mostly made up of people who had not been going to church, but went to church when they were younger. So we had all kinds of denominations. And I loved it there. We were there 9.5 years. That's where our kids say they grew up. Actually, we moved to the Chicago area after Great Falls, and Earl started in our church counseling center, And we lived in the suburbs, but went to this wonderful church in the middle of Chicago. And our eyes were opened. Our kids had never, ever run into people. We had them from Gold Coast to Greeny Green. We had just a terrific balance of people. But anyway, our oldest girl is Jan, lives not too far from where we had a cottage on Gun Lake. She majored in music at Hope and spent most of her career teaching music in Wayland, Michigan. Then next is our son Dave. He went on to grad school, became a psychologist, and after working for other people, he wanted to start his own place, which he did. It's called Developmental Enhancement, and it works with children with autism, a few adults, mostly small children. He started a place here in Holland. Then he started one in Kalamazoo, I think. And then I know he has a big one outside of Grand Rapids. However, 6 years ago, he was hit by a car. He was blowing leaves in his yard, and the car was not looking, and it had bad brakes. Anyway, he got dragged 70 feet. We didn't think he was going to live. He was in a coma for 10 days. And then we saw a musician come by with a guitar, and my husband asked him to go in and sing the Michigan song for Dave, which he did. He left out the last word, and Dave's first word was hail. So we thought, oh, there's something in there, you know. But anyway, he doctored with it for a long time. He's in a wheelchair, has 24/7 help, and has some brain problems. Recognizes us and can do a lot, but he does have problems, so we see him really often. Anyway, then my next son is Mark, who also went to grad school and became a psychologist. We're also happy because now Mark brought Dave out, and now Mark is running these clinics. And it just makes Dave really happy to have him keep him going. Our last child is Barbara, and she was a teacher here in Holland, taught elementary, and I think she taught some special ed too. I have 11 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. The things I love to do most, I come up with, are anything with music, from playing the piano, not like I used to at all, to going to the concerts that they have here, which have been wonderful, really wonderful. The other thing I like to do is, this is totally not artistic, I think, but paint with watercolors. I've taken a few courses in that. I've read through the possibilities, and several interest me, from the library, a book club, to chorus, to so many different things, to work with paint in some way. There's a lot of things I could join here if I had the time. I'm still not unpacked. I have appreciated all the friendliness here. I didn't expect it, although people had said it was, but it really is. And people have been so kind, and that's just a wonderful thing, I think.